Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today we are going to be making a flat, completely flat shaker card. Now, these are my favorite kind to make. I prefer a flat shaker over a bulky shaker, and with just a couple of adjustments, you probably have everything you need. So, first of all, I'm going to make today's design somewhat slimline, I guess. This is not a card that I make particularly often, and it means that I will make a custom envelope as well, but I have a way to make all good envelopes work really well for me. I create most of my own envelopes. I make them all, and I have a video that shows you no matter what shape, like square, rectangle, slimline, anything in between, we can make an envelope for it really quickly. So I am going to use some cardstock today. So one is from this double-sided cardstock thing, and then I have just put together sort of a couple of pinks and a couple of blues to create these layers. Now I have another one of the blues out to the left there, and that's going to be a layering, matting layer, or a border, create a border later on. Now, for this, you can honestly, you'll see once the card is complete that the world is your oyster. You can create whatever you want. I'm going to use these two dies together. So these are the honeybee stacking hearts dies, and then I have the nested scalloped hearts from scrapbook.com. And so I'm using 3 of the plain hearts on the inside, and then the nested scalloped ones are just going to be for the very last layer, just for that little bit of decorative edge on the edge of the heart. Then I have my favorite Lawn Fawn vellum. Now this is a heavyweight vellum, but you absolutely don't need a heavyweight one. You could also just use clear acetate. You could use packaging. I've showed all of these options in videos before. I will see if I can link a couple in the top corner of this video and also down below. But honestly, this is just a really, really easy process. My preference is to create a pocket for this style of card, and just because I'm doing sort of a longer slimline card, that's exactly the shape I'm going to make. So very, very basic, just one fold and then 3 open sides. To the 3 open sides, I'm going to add some 1/8 inch of the double-sided tape, some nice, strong adhesive, because this is what is going to be holding all our shaker elements in. And if you know shaker cards, you know you do not want your shaker card to leak or explode or all of those interesting things. We do not want that happening. So some nice strong tape is good here, some reliable tape. Now, any shape here is going to work. As I said, I'm going to do 3 little hearts along my shaker, but you could honestly be doing flowers, you could just be doing circles, you could use little rectangles. Have a look at what stacking dies you have in your stash, or you could just cut your own freehand little wiggly shapes as well. That would work too. Of course, if you are interested in these shapes, I will have them linked down below. I can highly recommend some stacking dies if you are into die cutting. They are absolutely fabulous and very good value long term. Now, for my design here, I'm going to have 2 of these stacked hearts on the inside of the shaker, and then I'm going to have 1 on the outside of the shaker. So I kind of had all 3 hearts there just so I could get the placement right, and then I'm going to build up these hearts inside the shaker. So I've got all of my 4 little layers ready to go. Very, very simple, very little dimension. That's what I want this card to be, a nice flat shaker. And so I've got my 2 little hearts that are good to go there, and then this is where I can start to close up my flat shaker. Now you only want to remove 2 sides at this point because we haven't filled it, remember. We do want some beautiful shaker elements in there. So at the moment, it's basically just a pocket of vellum, which is great. You can't see the adhesive too much, that double-sided adhesive, because this is a heavier weight vellum, but we are going to cover it up, creating a frame. So this is the same color of blue as I've used to die cut some of the hearts, and I don't have any slimline dies because they're not something I use often, so I'm going to create a frame the old-fashioned way, so to speak, and I'm just going to cut out the inside of this using my trimmer, and then those final little corners I will be able to just snip out with my scissors, so it's nice and neat and even. And then I actually will trim this a little bit skinnier later on, but for the minute, this is how it's all coming along, and it looks pretty good. We're coming together pretty well, but I do want to add some adhesive to the back of this. Now, I'm lucky because this is still wide enough that I can fit this 1/4 inch double-sided adhesive tape along the back here. As I said, I will actually trim this smaller soon. I just wanted the border to be just ever so slightly finer, but making sure that it's got good coverage. It's actually not going to be holding in any shaker bits or anything like that. It purely is a frame to hide any adhesive from our shaker, but it is good to always make sure everything's all neat, and those finishing touches just helps finish off the card. So I only pull back a tiny bit of the release paper, then I line up the rest of the frame and then push down and take away the rest of the frame, just so that I know it's completely lined up. This is a sort of fragile shape that can easily get bent out of its correct rectangle shape, so that's why I do this in kind of stages, because once this tape is down, it's really not coming up very easily. So even at this point, the shaker is not filled and it's still a pocket. Now I have some of these flat shaker pieces here. Now these are brilliant. Of course you're going to want something that doesn't have lots of dimension. So putting something like beads in this is probably not ideal. We're creating a flat shaker with no bulk. These go through the mail a lot easier, and you can just decide how much you would like to put in. These are just like flat iridescent shaker pieces, and I absolutely love them. There is next to no weight in them. And then this is when I'm going to take away that last little strip to close up our shaker completely, and we have a flat shaker element ready to go on a card. So everything moves around nicely. It still all shakes from side to side, which is most important. Now that we've put the vellum on, I'm going to put some adhesive along the back of the vellum. Again, this is hidden behind the frame, remember, and also behind those 2 hearts. Now I actually could have done it in the center as well, but that's okay, it doesn't really need to. This is heaps of adhesive to keep this nicely in place. So you can see how everything is coming along at the moment. We do need to do a sentiment, so of course I'm going to pop some double-sided adhesive sheets. These Sizzix ones are my favorite because they die cut beautifully. Now this is the Hello from Paper Rose Studios. That thanks die down the bottom, it doesn't belong there at all. That's from a completely different set. I think I've just popped it away there so I didn't lose it. I'm going to die cut this gorgeous word hello just out of plain white cardstock. I've done that 3 times so that I can stack it up and create a gorgeous little sentiment. This gives it some dimension, but not enough that I couldn't get it through the mail easily, which is what I'm aiming for. And then once it's got all 3, it's a nice sturdy sentiment to go on the front. But this is where I'm going to stack up my little hearts as well before I pop the sentiment on. So I've got my card base here, and I've got all my adhesive removed in a second, and this is going to leave a nice white border as well. Again, you can just make these cards to the size that you wish, how you want them to be, the shape, everything. It doesn't matter at all. As I said, I create my own envelopes, so that's nice and easy too. And then this one is, I wasn't sure at this point if it was going to go through the mail or I would hand deliver it, but I just know that it can go through the mail. Of course, in different countries and things, different sized envelopes cost difference, but it depends if you can just fit this in a standard business envelope, a standard letter envelope. Yeah, so it might be different in the country that you are in for sure. But I stack up the last of my few hearts to go on the front, and now it looks like all 3 are in a nice row. I take the backing paper off my sentiment that's going to go on the front. And by all means, you could absolutely just leave the card as is like this. I think that it looks great, but I'm going to add a little sub-sentiment. So I'm going to say, sending love to you. This is from the black and white Paper Rose sentiments. You guys know that one by now, but I will link them down below just in case you haven't seen them. They are absolutely worthwhile. I could not recommend them more highly, and I could not recommend them more for a beginning card maker as well as an advanced card maker. So if you're looking for a gift to give, I guess this is a great one. I pop some double-sided adhesive on the back. No foam tape, not any foam tape involved in this shaker card today. And then we have a gorgeous finished flat shaker card. Lots of movement. I think that heart on the front helps the sentiment stand out a whole lot. And everything looks pretty good. So thank you so much for joining me for this flat shaker card today. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye.